Now that we're nearing the middle of the season of Easter, one common gospel reading that we come back to, or actually a sequence of gospel readings, is in regard to the feeding of the multitudes and of the bread of life discourse that follows it. And just to kind of recap that story, Jesus is teaching the disciples, about 5,000 disciples actually, in a remote area. And it gets toward the end of the day, and everybody's hungry. And he asks rather rhetorically the apostles, well, how are we going to feed all these people? And the apostles panic. They say, well, Lord, all we have are these 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. I don't see how we could possibly feed everybody. And yet, not only is everyone fed, but they actually have a huge quantity of food left over after everyone has had their fill. And Jesus did this in order to clearly demonstrate his command of all created things. And that is exactly what Jesus wanted to demonstrate for them in that act. But predictably, the disciples completely misunderstood what Jesus did on that evening. And in fact, they misunderstood him so clearly that they returned the next day and they were thinking to themselves, I didn't have to go to work yesterday because this rabbi fed everybody. So I'm just going to hang out with him for the rest of my life and I'll never have to go to work again. And so when the disciples came back to him the next day, they said, hey, Jesus, do that bread and fish thing again. And that's when Jesus went into his discourse on, well, what did Jesus actually intend to accomplish? And it was to, first of all, like I said, to demonstrate that he has command of all created things, and he's setting the stage for the institution of the Eucharist. And in the institution of the Eucharist, he takes simple bread and wine, which become his body and blood, while maintaining, it's important to understand, while maintaining the appearance of mere bread and wine. And Jesus did all of this to show us that, first of all, the purpose of his mission was not to rid earthly life of all of its difficulties. If Jesus wanted us to never have to work again, and if he were here to provide for all of our material needs here on earth, he would have done it, but that's not what he did. If Jesus wanted to accomplish our salvation, he could have done it any way that he chose, but he did it in a way, first of all, that does not overwhelm our ability to choose whether to believe him or disbelieve him, to follow him or to reject him, but does so in a way that those who approach him with sincere and open hearts to receive everything that he says and does as true, so that the people who do receive what he says and does as true will know eternal life, and those who do not, um, well, flatly will not. And so going in, let's take that insight a little more deeply into our hearts. And remember that God didn't do what he did in order to perfect a broken world. He did what he did in order to throw open the gates to heaven. And remember, in all these things, God is who he says he is, you are who he says you are, and live the life that he created you to live.